G'day guys, welcome back to another review on the channel. Today I will be reviewing Scooby's Night with a Frozen Fright, which is the third episode of Season 2 of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? So yeah, let's get straight into the reviews. So, this episode opens up as we see this mysterious ship in the middle of the sea, and we see a caveman frozen, and he falls off the side of the ship and goes downstream in the sea. And then we see the gang, they're having fun on the beach like as normal kids would do. Shaggy and Scooby are fishing, and they're the ones who hook up the caveman. Velma wanted to dance with Shaggy, and he was going to dance with her after the one last catch, and he caught the caveman. Daphne and Fred were off dancing, so they get their attention, and obviously the caveman's frozen, and they have heard about it in the paper, and they're going to take it back to where it was meant to be going, in Oceanland, where the caveman was being delivered to, but fell off the edge of the boat. There they meet Mr. Wayne and Mr. Instrom, and they tell them, well, basically they're grateful that they take it back, and yeah, that they pretty curious, the kids, and yeah, they're just gonna put it in this frozen room with the other specimens in there. Scooby's messing around with an octopus, and after a while they decide to leave. They leave Mr. Wayne and Mr. Instrom by themselves. Mr. Instrom says he's going to go do some research down at the dock, and Mr. Wayne stays behind inside the frozen room where the caveman is, but we see someone turn on this generator, and basically melting the caveman. Back at the malt shop, the gang are hanging out there. They've just finished eating, and then they've realised that Shaggy's left his rod back at Oceanland, so they decide to drive their way back. They go inside, but there's no one in there, which is quite suspicious. It's pretty dark and pretty spooky looking, especially at night, as well. And the front door, the frozen room's been ripped off. The walk-in freezer, that's what they called it. And the gang go in there. They find Mr. Wayne's torn up Parker, and they also find no caveman. They find a part of the frozen block that he was frozen in, but the caveman is not there. They also find the generator, and it's on like high, in terms of warmth, and Shaggy and Scooby try to ring for the sheriff, but unfortunately the phones are dead. So they go outside, they find some footprints, giant footprints that can only belong to the caveman. They follow them down to the docks, and there we see Mr. Instrom and, Professor Instrom, and he's doing some important research with his new invention, an invention that can talk to sea life or fish, and he's there talking to a dolphin, and Scooby's trying to get a closer look of what they're doing because they don't know what they're doing at the moment, and after a few little hijinks, Lobster got onto his tail. He gets trapped in like a blanket and buckets. He chases Mr. Instrom off. The gang think he's pretty suspicious. They follow him into a shack, but when Fred opens it up, the caveman's inside, and he lets out a big roar and chases after them, and they run back up to Oceanland. There they split up. Daphne, Fred and Velma hide behind a door. The caveman did come into the room, but he didn't find them, but he does find Shaggy and Scooby. He's spotted Scooby's tail hanging out of the curtain. He steps on it, and then Scooby yells inside a bag of treats that Shaggy had prepared, and he gives it to the caveman, and the caveman opens it, and yeah, it's quite funny. Anyway, they just piss the caveman off even more, and goes chasing after them. Then we cut back to Daphne, Fred, and Velma. They're still wondering where Shaggy and Scooby are, and the caveman. They haven't seen the caveman in quite a while, and same with Shaggy and Scooby. Fred thinks that they'll be long gone and way far away from the caveman by now. But it cuts back to Shaggy and Scooby. They're still trying to get away from the caveman. They're pretending to be seals, but the caveman doesn't fall for it and continues his chase. He launches them onto the back of a sperm whale's tail, and he smashes them towards the direction of Fred, Daphne, and Velma, but they go over them and outside Oceanland, and crash into a bunch of bins. And yeah, then next after that, they're going to split up again. Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby are going to go out and check the boat decked out at sea where the caveman originally came from, with a special map that Velma found, showing the exact coordinates of where it's located. And it's not too far away from Oceanland, which is good for them. And Daphne and Fred have the more dangerous job, trying to figure out where the caveman is and locate him. And I don't know, you just guess, find some more clues as well. Now Velma has the map, so she leads Shaggy and Scooby onto the boat. When they get onto the boat, they're looking through portholes. They're trying to figure out which rooms to find clues in. They go inside this room, but someone locked them in, and they turned on the ice machine, so it's making ice, and more big giant ice blocks. The more they are, the more chance they're going to get frozen. It's pretty much how you freeze the caveman, really. But when one of the ice blocks shot into the lock, it came out as well. It was like forced through the keyhole to make the shape of the key. Scooby manages to grab it, and they jump back onto their boat. They try to jump back onto their boat, but it's been smashed, and they just want to make sure the person who ever trapped them just wants to double make sure that they don't get out. But yeah, luckily for them, they can get away, thanks to Velma's ingenious idea of getting like a oar and paddling on a ice block. Now they meet back in front of Oceanland. Velma and Daphne saying they couldn't find the caveman. I wonder what they were really up to. Really, they probably just went off and snuck off. Probably went and got some food, hung out, and Shaggy and Scooby and Velma then come back and say that they think they found some pretty good clues to wrap up the mystery. And all they need to do now is trap the caveman. Scooby and Shaggy dress up as giant fish, and they go to lure out the caveman. They spot him pretty quickly, which was surprising, seeming Daphne and Fred couldn't find him. But anyways, Shaggy and Scooby then lead him back out to the front of Oceanland, but of course Daphne, danger-prone Daphne, stuffed up the trap, trapped Shaggy and Scooby instead. Then the caveman continues to make his way over, and then this is the soundtrack for this episode. Pretty good 7 days a week. Pretty catchy song as well. And the good thing about this one is a lot happened in this 2-minute chase sequence, and the first part of it was pretty interesting. Caveman trying to trap the gang. He nearly got Shaggy and Scooby. They're hiding behind tortoises, sorry. They're hiding in like giant fish tanks, and the caveman's getting pretty pissed off while doing this. That they pretend to be like, they go over like seals, and then they've got like this electric remote control like anchor, and Shaggy, Scooby, and the caveman get stuck on it. They nearly hit Daphne, Velma, and Fred, but Shaggy and Scooby manage to jump off right at the last moment before it falls into the giant clam, and the caveman gets stuck in the giant clam.
Saturday morning.
Now, when Shaggy goes to rescue him with a lasso, the caveman grabs on, but his costume comes off, revealing himself as Mr. Wayne. Now, at first, they thought it was Professor Instrum. That's because Mr. Wayne wanted them to believe that it was Professor Instrum. He was after his machine that could talk to fish. Now, he plotted the idea of freezing the caveman, throwing the caveman overboard, and then defreezing the caveman in the room to make double sure that the caveman was escaped, making it an easier way to escape with the professor's invention. And then Scooby starts talking to the fish in the invention. And the fish then yells out Scooby-Doo, which is quite funny.
It's Professor Wayne!
You mean to say this whole caveman thing was a hoax?
Not entirely, Sheriff. The 2-million-year-old caveman that was lost at sea was for real.
And that's what gave Professor Wayne the idea for his scheme.
First, he froze the dummy caveman in a block of ice out of the old fishing boat. Then he set it adrift, knowing it would float to oceanland.
Then he melted the ice with an electric heater and made it appear that the caveman had come to life and caused himself and Ingstrom to vanish.
Once Ingstrom was out of the way, Wayne would return claiming to have escaped from the caveman. But why did he do it? I can answer that. He was after my invention. A revolutionary marine life communicator. Like, wow, you mean you can talk to fish with it? Scooby-Doo! 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 That invention is worth a fortune.
And it would have been mine if it hadn't been for those meddling kids.
Well, where you're going, you won't have to worry about meddling kids anymore.
Well, that wraps up this mystery. Let's head for the malt shop.
Then we see the gang back at the malt shop, and Scooby's finally found his dancing partner. Of course, it's the caveman's costume, but no one inside it, which is quite funny, concluding the episode off. So I give this episode an 8 out of 10. It was a pretty great episode, just like Season 2 overall, really. But yeah, just not my favourite from Season 2. The caveman was pretty good, nothing special, but yeah, still pretty good villain. The characters, Mr. Wayne and Professor Instrum, were pretty great. The oceanland setting was pretty good. I just wish they maybe could have stayed there a little bit longer. They were going back and forth from the malt shop at the start at the end. That was alright, I guess. Like, it's acceptable. It's just been pretty harsh. You can't really fault Scooby-Doo, are you? As much. But with this episode, I did find a few, complaints, I guess. The plot of stealing the invention, hasn't been seen before. It was alright, I guess. Nothing special again. I didn't really like how, defreezing the caveman, that was kind of silly, to be honest. There's a few silly things in here. The jokes as well, they weren't perfect, which is quite frustrating for this episode because it had potential. It definitely had good potential because the oceanland setting was pretty great. When I first watched this episode, I enjoyed it quite a lot, actually. But yeah, ever since, it's just been slowly going down. It just becomes harder to find good things over the bad things because there was a few things that could have been done better in this one, which was disappointing. Seeming it's pretty hard to do in Scooby-Doo, are you? They pretty much nailed it. But yeah, like I said, the caveman was pretty good. The episode overall I thought was pretty good. The mystery as well was pretty good. Again, everything just being pretty good. But yeah, there's just a few things that really, really let it down. It had potential, but never really 10 out of 10 potential, really. But yeah, I guess it was still a pretty good episode, and yeah, I definitely enjoyed most of the funny scenes, that's for sure. Had a few good scenes in it as well, which is always what you want to see, good memorable scenes in Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And I really enjoyed the soundtrack, which was surprising. Seeming the first time I watched it, I didn't really enjoy it, but it does get stuck in your head the more times you do watch it. But yeah, not the best soundtrack out of all of the episodes, which I just feel like this episode was good, but it never had potential to be better than the other ones in season 2, and I feel like most people would agree with me here. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Stay tuned for tomorrow, where I'll be doing my next review, which is Jeepers, It's the Creeper. Stay tuned for that, because that's going to be an absolute special, that's for sure. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys next time.